Welcome to How's Your ePresence? This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the founder and president of that firm. Welcome to the show where we talk about business and social media. And I so appreciate all of you being with us today, especially in these days where we're all cooped up and can't go out. Spending a little time with us, I hope that we can give you something that you can apply today, or maybe something that you apply when you get back into the office. Hey, at ePresence, we've decided to help out a little bit on the COVID-19 piece. We want to help you improve your LinkedIn profile. So this is so important, and it's one of those things I thought about that we should offer because we had tons of people calling us and asking us, hey, I need to clean up my LinkedIn profile. I have time to do it. So have you ever thought about doing this because you haven't had time? Well, you got time now? You should look into this. Also, do you think you may need to look for a job after all this social distancing is over? And here's something. Does your competition have a better LinkedIn presence than you? Fix that by joining our 1-hour webinar where we give you all the tips on how to earn an all-star rating on LinkedIn. You'll show up on higher search results. You'll be able to influence your connections to do business with you or, frankly, hire you. So we only have 10 spots per class, and we do them Tuesdays and Thursdays. So everybody in the room will get attention. The price, we kept it really low, is $37.50. It's half of our normal price. Normally we charge $75 a head. We're doing $37.50 because a lot of people aren't making a lot of money now, but they need this service. So if you'd like to join us for this valuable training, go to ePresence.me webinar. So that's ePresence.me/webinar, and you'll see all the information there on how to join us. Today, we have a great show. So glad that you're here. We're going to talk about some great news items. We're going to talk about Google and Facebook. Did you know they're sharing information on COVID-19? Is that good? We're also going to talk about Zoom is getting clobbered for lax security on their video platform. And what do you need to know about that? Because I bet every single one of you have been on that platform. And lastly, we're going to get into LinkedIn and talk about the company page and how you can make it rock, because this is a super bit of information that I think all of you can benefit from. All right, but before we get into the news, you know how this goes, folks. We always bring in a great guest, and I'm always very happy when I find someone, especially virtually, that can bring some unbelievably great content. And this month or this period or today, we haven't struck out. I'll guarantee that. We have a great guest. His name is Alex Sanfilippo. Alex, how are you, sir?
Mark, I'm doing great and really excited to be on the show today.
Rock on, man. I'm glad that you're here. I really almost screwed up your name, and I want to apologize for that.
No, you said it just right. I mean, most people just totally butchered. I'm like, sure, that works. So you got it right. And I was like impressed. Like, dude, didn't know what to say.
I lived in San Francisco for 5 years. I almost called you Alex San Francisco.
I've heard it before. It wouldn't be a first. And I respond to it.
Sanfilippo. It's Italian, I'm assuming. Yes?
Yes, it is. Yep.
All right. It's a great name. I also want to say it like Italian. Sanfilippo. That's awesome.
Better than I can do, so keep it up.
And I'm Irish, so that's really saying something. So you run an organization, have a podcast, the whole bit, called Creating a Brand. Tell me, what is it that you guys do? And share a little bit about your podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, I am a community builder. That's what I believe in. So my entire product behind what I do is just to build an online community. We use a third-party platform. You know, you and me we're social media guys.
Right.
We do quite a bit on it, but I've really found that my space in more recent years has been on third-party platforms. I've been using one called Mighty Networks. I partnered with them. I know their CEO. We partnered up about a year ago. And it's been really cool. So Mighty Networks is where we build that all out. And it's a free online community for entrepreneurs. It's people who want to go further, faster, while saving time and money when they're building their brand. And that's kind of why we help each other in that way. A perfect example is recently I had somebody on. She joined. It's completely free. She joined. She just posted a question. She's like, hey, I got $500 to spend on a logo. I'm just now starting a company. Where do y'all recommend I spend that money? Someone in there said, you know what? Got a better idea. How about you go to Canva, because you're just getting started. See if you can build one for free yourself. Turns out she was like an expert designer, just like had it naturally, and she built a beautiful logo and saved $500. That's the type of thing I love to do with creating a brand, just helping people take that first or next step in business, because so many people need it. And I'm more of a connections guy. I'm not the one with all the answers by any means, but like example, Mark, if someone needed to clean up their LinkedIn profile or get it to that all-star rating, I'm gonna send them to you. I'm gonna say, hey, I know a guy, Mark, who could really help you with that. Right. And that's kind of where I fit in. And then the podcast itself is really, I'm big on education. So it's more of a master class than a podcast. It's about 30 minutes and is on a specific topic, and we just dive real deep into that. An example, I had somebody on yesterday who talked about building a speaking, getting like promoted to speak and things like that, and actually getting those gigs and all that. And they just went through 5 steps, how they've been able to do it and get paid to speak. And they just walk through the 5 steps, and we start like that and we end like that. So it's been really cool. It's been the entrepreneurship category, and we've done really well. So that's a bit about what I'm doing. Ultimately, I just seek to be a person of value. I don't necessarily seek to be a person of profit. I just want to add value to other people's lives. And that's what I'm doing with creating a brand.
Well, I will tell you something. We're in days where understanding how to make some profit is challenged, and building a brand is important. And you may be in a space, I know that I certainly am. I give away a lot of information now in the hopes of building a brand that I can make more revenue in the future. That brand to support that. And it's the same thing that by doing what you're doing, you are able to build a brand where people see your value, and they're going to come to you and ask you to supply them with some value and pay you for it. That's not a bad thing to do at all.
Not at all. Not at all. Guys like you and me, we're building trust. It's a long game. We're building trust right now, and in the future, it always pays off. If someone can trust you in such a world right now that's lacking trust, that goes a really long way right now.
Yeah. And you know something, if you get onto Facebook, you can see a lot of people who are trying to build trust the wrong way. And that's a big deal, right? Giving out your best quality content for free on the web, on a podcast, wherever, is going to build trust. People will see that, be able to see straight through whether you're being honest or not. We're getting, as a society, better and better at that. We can still get better, quite frankly. There are some things that I've seen on the line that people believe that I think, people, let's not believe something just because we want to believe it.
Well, everything on the internet is true. You got to remember that, Mark. It's on the internet, it's true.
You bet. Well, speaking of stuff that's on the internet that's true, let's jump into some news. We'll fire through this, and then we're going to pivot and chat with you about some of your expertise. So one of the things we were going to talk about, and this is such a cool thing, is Google and Facebook are sharing information on COVID-19. So, what type of information can they gather? So, Alex, do you use Google? Is that your search engine of choice, or do you use something else?
No, I use Google, and I remember when I saw that, I was actually trying to make sure I was spelling coronavirus right initially. That's how I even found out they were doing that. I was like, is it 2 words or 1?
Right.
I Googled it, and it started showing all these stats and things. I was like, oh my gosh, they're really reporting all this. And yeah, I also heard the same thing that Facebook's a little later to the game, but they just started the same process, right? But they're doing it differently, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I tell you, what's interesting is that some people get a little freaked out about their personal information and so on and so forth. There is a difference in the way they're doing it. But if you're worried about whether Google is tracking your information or sharing your information, you could go to your Google app and shut it down, or you could delete the app if you're that worried about it. So if you're on a phone that's supplied by Google, go to the settings. If it's an Android style phone, go to the settings and turn off that sharing piece. You do have that control. So go online. You can find it. Go to Google and search how you can stop sharing that information. But at the end of the day, here's what they're sharing, which I think is fascinating. You go into Google's site, and they'll give you the link. And so I did this before the show today. I went in. I was able to drill into my local community. So I'm in Atlanta, and I could go in and say Georgia, and it gave me the data on Georgia. You can get the data on the U.S. You can get the data on Japan. You can get it. You and I. It's publicly available. And here's what they're sharing. They're sharing the plus or minus, based on some sort of baseline that they have, the data that they've got on how many people are going to retail and recreation areas in a certain geographic space. So I got Georgia in front of me, so let's talk about Georgia. Georgia has a 42% drop on people that are going to retail and recreation. What does that mean? That means that 42% fewer people who have the app turned on sharing data are going to those spaces. So that's how they're getting that info. Grocery and pharmacy they're down 17%. I thought grocery would be up.
I thought so too. Wow.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Parks are down 2%. Now this is interesting. There's a graph here, and it's going up and down and up and down. I think there's some weekends in there, because this is from Sunday, February the 6th through March the 29th. But people are certainly hitting the parks at times. But still, overall, the aggregate, the average over time is down 2%. Transit stations. this is, what does it say? Public transportation hubs, subways, buses, train stations, down 52%,
Mhm.
and workplaces are down 37%. There is one category that is up: residential. There's a surprise.
Right.
11% people are at home 11% more of the time. Now I'm confused by that, frankly. Shouldn't they be home all the time?
Yeah,
And
that's
I
kind of what I
guess
was thinking too.
and I guess what we're talking about is 11% increase means you had a lot of people who were gone for multiple days in travel or something like that. All those people are at home. So kind of an interesting data. I'm not sure how this data set helps anyone that's trying to track COVID-19, but this is publicly available. Here's what's fascinating. Facebook is sharing the same kind of information. Same thing. You go out on the Facebook, you have to tell them that you want to share where you are. They'll do the same thing. However, their report confidential. You can't go and get it. You have to be, quote, Facebook tools will only be available to select academics. We only work with researchers who have entered into research agreements. It takes resources for us to manage partners. We need to ensure we have appropriate privacy controls in place, a company spokesman said. So, Alex, what do you think about that?
I don't know.
Should it be private?
Yeah, I was thinking about that as well. And first off, I wonder because I don't see it, so I don't have access to that. That doesn't. I'm not like that
Right.
mold that they would actually share it with, so I don't know what it looks like. But I'm wondering, is it just the same thing that Google is just showing everybody, or is it something? Is it something different? Like what exactly are they producing? Without really knowing that, I don't even know the value of seeing that information necessarily.
Yeah, I think the smoke and mirrors piece, I kind of get one side because Facebook needs to protect the data, but it worries me that they're going to get attacked because we don't know what they're sharing. How granular is that information? Are they able to reach down and see that I am not staying at home? And then the state can knock on my door and say, "You're supposed to be home. Why did you leave?" That worries me. And I don't know the answer to that. I mean, they are talking to researchers. I think that's the problem. And I think what Google's doing is smart. Facebook's probably sharing great information and not sharing that type of information, but there are going to be people who have questions.
Yeah, if there's one thing we know about Facebook, especially in recent years, it's that they get in trouble for privacy a lot.
Right.
And I'm
Right.
wondering if they're breaking trust once again by doing this because you don't know what they're showing those researchers about you and me.
Right.
They could be saying Alex and Mark, they hung out for a couple hours. They did this podcast live in person instead of, at their home.
Right.
And, that type of thing could be getting shared and we don't know. I think that to me breaks trust a little bit. And that's been their issue long term is that people aren't sure if they can really trust that platform. And by not giving it away to everybody, that's kind of almost to me makes it look like they have something to hide, which they don't.
Yeah.
They don't have anything to hide, but like why do that then? And the fact that
Yeah.
Google's just like, here, everybody, this will help the world. I appreciate that a lot more and actually makes me trust Google more than Facebook on this matter.
It does. And the flip side of that is the contrarian view is that Facebook needs to protect their data, and they're super flipped out about it, and they're focused on that. So if that's what Facebook needs to do, then maybe they're making the right choice to say, "Hey, we're only going to give
That's
this
true.
to select people." I think what they ought to do is share an example report of what they'd share, and just scrub the data where it has no information about somebody specific. That would be helpful. But you know what? They certainly have plenty of money. They can figure out how to handle it. I just think that there's
Right.
there's definitely, as we know, there's a question here. I want to press on because we're rocking on time here. I have the next thing I want to talk about is Zoom. We're all using Zoom. I love Zoom. I'm going to tell you right now. I love Zoom because I record my podcasts on it. I do all my webinars on it, and the reason is that it's so user friendly.
Mm-hmm.
It is, I think, just the easiest platform out there to use. It also has a really cool thing for podcasters like us. I can record you on a separate channel. So you and I are being recorded into my computer. We have separate channels so that in post-production, if your microphone doesn't sound as good as mine, or you don't sound as loud as me for whatever reason, I can turn you up. So simple stuff like that makes Zoom great. Now, we've all heard about Zoom bombing. Have you heard about that, Alex?
Yeah, I keep on waiting for someone to join you and me today, but it hasn't happened yet.
I think it'd be, I must admit, there's a couple of meetings I have, with 10, 12 people in the room. And if somebody shows up and started Zoom bombing, I think it would be funny.
Me too.
Like, whoa, yeah, we got a Zoom bomber,
Yeah,
rocket,
right.
man. Oh, that's offensive.
That's good.
I'm not sure, how you don't play with that, because it would be kind of amusing. That said, here's the reason why this is happening. It's because Zoom is so user-friendly that people were dropping links out there to their meetings, and those links would go viral, and anyone could get them and anyone could join.
Right.
So Zoom's fixed that. They're requiring a password for every single new meeting. If you don't want that, then you're just going to be open to getting Zoom bombed. I still think I'm ready for that to happen. The other thing there that I think is really interesting that they're addressing is the geofencing part. There was a big question on whether the data, like you and I here, we're talking, our information is going through between 2 to hundreds of servers all over the world, bouncing back and forth, whichever is the most efficient. And Zoom regrettably changed something back in February where they added capacity to their system to manage all this data by throwing in their Chinese servers. And so basically the problem is data was flowing through China and could be picked up because it's not as there's an encryption question on whether that information could have been picked up as it traveled through China or hit those servers and be encrypted. Well, the good news is they've shared that they have immediately took the mainland China data centers off of the secondary backup for users outside of China. So this information is good. I think it's smart to do this. The bad news is that it happened. So Zoom was probably moving fast and breaking everything, and probably didn't take enough time to make sure their security was where they needed it to be, in light of a major world pandemic. I can't imagine Zoom ever thought that they'd get really hit like they are.
Either way, could you imagine the influx of new users to Zoom? Again, going back to the user friendliness, it's so user friendly. But if you've been, I meet with a certain team, and there's about 15 of us that we used to meet in person, and now that just disappeared one day. So what's the backup? The first thing that goes in everyone's mind is Zoom, right? We all say, okay, let's go to Zoom. Could you imagine what that did to their servers? I think they just they wanted to stay active, so they just made a quick decision. They did what they had to do.
I get it. I totally get it, because you've got surplus data capacity through China. So yeah, we'll just run it through there, but not really thinking it through. And I'm gonna tell you what, it was wrong. I get it though. I totally get why it happened.
I've actually had the opportunity to have a conversation with the CEO of Zoom, Eric. And,
cool. Really?
And he just cares about providing the best solution for his customers. And not that I know him super well, but the vibe I got from him was that, I'm not going to do anything to ever do my people wrong. They've trusted me. And I think that like you're saying, it was just a split decision. It was a wrong decision. But I think that going back to that conversation with Eric, I believe that he's saying, you know what, we got to make this right. And I think that's why they acted so quick to reverse that.
So I read that, I have been fortunate to meet him, but he has made a very big deal with his staff about every time they are using Zoom, every time they're making a change, user-friendly. He would that was this most important aspect. Yeah, we can roll this new feature out, but it's got to be user-friendly. How do we make sure it's user-friendly? And it's paid off. Everybody's on it because of the work and the focus that he put on that. Well, that's cool that you met him. All right, one last thing, and then we're gonna pivot to you. We're running a little bit over, but there's some great data today. The other thing I wanted to share, and this is not really about what's going on in our culture right now with the coronavirus, but it does have a lot to do with something you could be doing, and that is, how do you increase the effectiveness of your company page? So I ran across this article. This is in jdsupra.com. jdsupra.com is a legal focused digital site. And Stephanie Marone, it may be Maroney, Marrone, she wrote this article entitled How to Increase and Engage Your LinkedIn Company Page Followers. Now I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of, I'm not going to read this because it's long, number one. But what she did is she has 20 steps here on how to make your company page on LinkedIn rock. I have not seen this type of thorough deep dive into your LinkedIn company page. So some of you may have a company page and you keep thinking, gosh, what do I do with it? It's there. Should I do something more? And she does things, and I'll give you some highlights. Like, number one, get down the basics first. Next, optimize your company page for SEO. Very smart. We're going to get into SEO in a second. Be strategic about promoting the page. The next one is engage your employees. This is not all of them, but next is engage your community. Finally, encourage your partners and leaders to mention your page, on and on. These are just some of the highlights. There are so many great ideas here that I'm going to put this in the show notes. So if you're trying to figure out how to leverage your company LinkedIn page, check this out. Go look at this page. You're going to find that there's a lot of value there that I think that you can, if you're looking for a to-do list, what can I do with my company page? Go there, pull it up, and you'll be able to pull some information. So Alex, I have a confession I got to tell you. I've got the timer on our call, and it says 34 minutes right now. And the funny thing is we haven't been recording for 34 minutes. So I really pushed through the news, which is going to make our conversation even more robust.
All right.
All right. So, Alex, dude, I'm so glad you're here. You and I met online, right? We have never met face-to-face.
We have not.
So how often do you meet people digitally and develop a relationship with them? Is this a common thing? Are you finding that the digital space is allowing you to do this more often, or is this a small part of what you do?
I love going to conferences. I love going to network events, but I meet a lot of really interesting people online because this sounds bad, but you can vet them before you talk to them. I can kind of be like, you kind of see that, no, we might be similar. So when I saw you, I believe it was actually LinkedIn is where we first connected. I saw somebody that was a great podcast host that really was into the digital space and things that I'm into. And I was like, that's the type of person I want to connect with and have a friendship with. And for me, that's what it's always about. It's about building that friendship. And that's something I'm good about. I didn't try to sell you something the second I met you, or I still haven't, and I won't. I was more into the relationship, and I think that's what maybe makes me a little bit different than some people just connecting, because I wasn't like, Mark, buy this and then we'll talk. It was like, hey, what do you do? Let's see how we can kind of collaborate or how we can help each other out. Love what you're doing type of thing. So yeah, it goes hand in hand. Both sides are pretty big for me, I'd say.
So I'm going to admit something. I do not respond to everybody that pings me. I use that word for LinkedIn messaging, that will send me a LinkedIn messaging notification or message, period. I hate that. I hate the word messaging, LinkedIn messaging, but that's what they call it. I prefer Messenger, but that's Facebook. So I always stumble on that, right? But you sent me a message on LinkedIn that you referenced the podcast. You're trying to meet other people in the community, and I was somewhat curt, but I was curious, right? So you've done the right thing. You were able to get me to respond, and as a result, we ended up connecting. We had a chat, and you also listened to my podcast.
Yeah, I do.
Which was cool, because you pulled that up. You say, "Hey, I like the podcast," and that was brilliant. So great way to connect. So you're very good at this. When we talked, there were things that popped up that you mentioned that I thought were just so interesting, and I immediately said, "Dude, you got to be on my podcast," because your content is going to be so applicable to our audience. You shared on our first call that you know a lot about the algorithm on Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah, some, let's say, but I would love to get into that if that's something we want to talk about.
Yeah, dude. All right. So tell me, how does, number one, I don't even know how to get into it. How does one get their arms around that algorithm to make it do good work for them?
Yeah. Man, I'm excited to get into this, Mark. I'm glad that you're asking me this. I never get a platform to share this type of thing, but it actually kind of goes back to something that we talked about not long ago, where we talked about the trust with Facebook and Instagram. They're owned by the same person. It's all Facebook. And there was a couple of years ago, which you'll remember this, when Mark Zuckerberg got called into Congress. He had to, defend himself and everything he'd been doing, right? So at that point, it was kind of crazy. That same month that happened, there was a lot of questions coming up about Instagram as well. And Zuckerberg told the executives, the leadership team of Instagram, to share the algorithm. And they said, you know what, invite a few companies that can be kind of press people and have them come tell you or explain to them how the whole thing works, how we rank, so they can get rid of some of the the questions around it, because people were starting to say, oh, it's not fair. The algorithm doesn't work for me. It works for other people, or it's biased towards this or that.
Yep.
So they put it all out on the line. The problem was, when I read those things, like TechCrunch was one of them, the people they sent to go like talk to them about the algorithm, they don't speak English. They only speak code, apparently. Because I read it, I'm like, what does that mean? I'm like, that doesn't explain anything. So I
love that.
I started a deep dive, because I was like, okay, they've explained it, they've exposed it. What is this actually saying? So I spent months just researching these conversations. There's about 4 or 5 companies end up there, and I just started reading articles, asking questions, and ended up being able to decode the top 3 ranking signals for Instagram. The 3 most important things that Instagram says are the most important things for the algorithm, how to boost it, how to make it work. So I'd love to get into those if you'd be
top
part of it.
3 ranking signals.
That's it.
Get out. You got them. I mean, you got the key.
They're public. Again, I can't say they're mine, that they actually announce them. So I don't want to sound like I'm the guy who's like figured out the solution, like I don't want to be like I don't want to be like the Jesus of like Instagram, where you're like, our savior has come. He knows, like I don't want that to be me today.
It is the week of Easter, right? So maybe, it kind of fits the thematic thing, right? So wait a minute. Number one, I didn't know this was available. I missed that. Shame on me. But yeah, tell us, as much as what makes the most sense. Share what you got on this, and let's and I may tease it out and may have questions, and let's see where it goes.
Yeah, I'll just drop through them one at a time. There's 3 of them, and I'll try to keep them fairly brief. But the first of those top 3 ranking signals is interest, is the number one thing. Is the user going to be interested in this? And the thing you have to remember about these platforms these days, their job is to keep you interested in what's on it. They want you to stay engaged. They don't want you to leave. I mean, if you notice this, if you click someone's link in Instagram now, it doesn't even leave the actual application. Right. It just opens up a little pop-up, because then they can still log that as time that you're still on Instagram. No matter what you're actually looking at, you're there. So their number one thing is interest. They want you to be interested in the platform and stay there. So they're only going to show you things that they think that you're truly interested in. Okay,
let's talk about this. So I have, over the last 3 months, clicked into, I have spent a lot of time looking at Kim Kardashian's posts. I've spent a lot of time.
We know what you're into then.
Right? Yeah. So yeah, this is the algorithm, right? I'm building it, so to speak. So Kim Kardashian, I like dachshunds. There's this breeder, South Georgia, that has the cutest little dogs I've ever seen. I like Jack Russells. I'm very interested in the posts that my kids post, right? And I think, and actually, then it's all the sports teams. So I follow about 5 sports teams. So this is the stuff that I'm spending the most time on. What you're telling me is that the algorithm is watching it is the right word, right? And it will say, you want to see more of this. So it will show, do you think it's as specific as, okay, here's 10 posts. Mark looked at Kim Kardashian once, and his kids 3 times, and then dogs 5 times. Does it kind of do that?
Kind of. So Instagram didn't give up this piece of the information I'm about to share, but Google actually did. The way that they log images, when you click on Google Images, they have an AI system. I think it's just called Image AI. And what it does is it scans that picture. And it's crazy. You can do it for free. They have a way you can test it, where you can just I think you type in Image AI Google, and it'll actually let you upload a picture, and it'll tell you the way the algorithm reads the picture. So I test this. I was a picture of me and a friend at some party somewhere, and it said 2 happy people, probably in the age of 25 to 34. It said the brands that we were wearing. So it actually picked out the brands on the t-shirts. It picked out that we were probably somewhere near the beach, because you could tell that it was real bright, and there was palm trees and stuff. It picked all this stuff out, and then picked out our mood, all kinds of things, our level of confidence. It was crazy. And so basically I'm sharing that because Instagram has something similar to that. So when you're spending time looking at a picture, not even necessarily, here's the big point, the big kicker here. It's not even if you like it or comment on it, it's how much time it spends on your screen. How much time is that image the primary thing that's on your screen? So if you're looking at pictures of Kim Kardashian's a perfect example. She shows quite a bit of skin, I hear, on the internet, So if you're looking at that,
I think she's the one pornographer on Instagram.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Right? She gets away with stuff that you think, how'd that happen?
Right. So, but it's going to assume that, okay, he likes females probably around this age, that, this complexion, they're not wearing a ton of clothing. We're going to show more like that and see how it goes. And the other thing that they're doing is always A/B testing. So if it thinks, okay, he's into that, but he also likes to look at pictures of his family, like let's see which one he likes more. We'll do a side-by-side comparison, see where he spends more time. And so it's always gathering more information from you, learning more and more what you're into. And sometimes you might be really into, like I'm fishing is something that's kind of interesting to me. I don't do it a whole lot, and probably because we're in quarantine, but I was looking at some pictures of like people catching fish. Next thing I know is the Explore page started showing a ton of that. And it kept me there. I was interested. I kept on looking at more and more pictures of that. And it's because it's what I was looking at that time. So it's always evolving, always changing. But again, the whole goal there is to keep you interested.
Fascinating stuff. I should tell you, I'm really into the Peaky Blinders. Have you seen that show on?
Man, my brothers swear that would be my favorite show. I have not brought myself to watch it yet, but my younger, I have 3 younger brothers, and I'm like, dude, you would love this. You got to watch it. And I just haven't brought myself to do it yet.
Yeah, it's great.
Good though, huh?
Yeah, it's great. It's evidently I've been paying a lot of attention to that. That shows up first on my Instagram feed. And what's fascinating is what they're doing with Instagram is they're showing content that is in an order of posting. So, this is, I think it's actually really good, but it's also horrible because I kind of like to see those other things that I don't see all the time, but I'm going to call it feeding the beast by paying attention to those things. All right. We're running out of time. We should move on. Let's go to number 2. All right. Interest number 1. What's number 2?
And timeliness is the next one. So it wants to know really how timely is this post. So basically, the way the Instagram algorithm can get boosted is in the first hour. If there's a good amount of engagement, it's going to determine how long the life of that post is. Because here's the deal, Mark, if you post something a year ago, the chances of me ever seeing that anywhere are very slim. Right. And that's because it's not timely anymore. It considers it not relevant any longer. So the idea is, as soon as you post something on Instagram that's interesting, again, that's going to be the first thing. Your audience should be interested in it. The next thing is, how timely can you get people to engage with it? The best way I found to do this is when people comment, respond to it, but not just oh, thanks. It's more like hey, thanks for liking my post. What have you been up to? Something where you can keep people coming back and to add more engagement to it. And as long as that first hour gets boosted, the hours after it will continue until it seems to lose steam or relevance. That's why some pictures, you can see them circulating for weeks on end. Because there's one on Instagram I've seen time and time again. It's somebody washing their hands. And it's like really HD. It's like a really cool angle from like below their hands kind of, but it's like done really nice. And it's been showing up everywhere for almost a full week. And that's because it's staying timely. It's staying something that's relevant for people to be looking at. So
every time someone lands on it, they're throwing gas on it, keeping it alive.
Exactly.
Right?
That's the best way to say it right there.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yep. What's number 3?
Number 3 is relationship. So interest, timeless, and relationship. This one is pretty simple. Really, it's just what's the relationship or association you have with this person? Why is it that you're engaging in their content? Do you know anyone else who also engages in that content? So example, if you're really liking a lot of pictures of your kids and things like that, and maybe you have a spouse or a cousin, nephew, someone else who's actually liking those same things, you'll see more of their stuff as well, because it says that you guys are in a relationship together. So your circle might be more connected than Instagram would imagine. Now, again, if you don't show interest in that, it'll drop off. But that's one of the first things it's checking. And also, if you're DMing somebody a lot, you'll see a lot more of their content because it's saying, okay, they like to communicate. Let's make sure we show them each other's stuff. And also the stories feed that as well. So if you're always looking at a certain person's stories, always engaging with it, next time they have a feed post, it'll show up first probably because they know, oh, okay, they're interested in this. So it's looking at that relationship you have with people.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to tell you what, those 3 pieces of nuggets, those were probably the most valuable 3 nuggets I've had on this show. Probably. Oh, yes. Dude. That is, when you get to when you peek behind the curtain, right? It is, you don't always see the wizard, but today we did. This is cool. This is really cool. All right. I'm just looking at time. We could keep on going. So this is what I'm going to do, Alex. We got to do this again. So when we hang up here, when we finish wrapping and I stop recording, we're going to pick a day and have you come back, because I want to talk about search engine optimization with you, because that's also in your sweet spot. What is SEO and how do you reach a larger audience and make that audience grow? Those are some great things. But this piece about Instagram, extremely helpful for all of our clients. So good stuff. Thanks for joining us today and sharing that.
Absolutely. Honored to be here.
Tell us, where can people find you?
The best thing you can do is you can go to, the easiest way I should say is creatingabrand.com. I have a few pages there. It's got everything that that I'm into, including my my free community that's on there. Or if you just want an even quicker, easier way to do it, you can just shoot me a text. My number is 1-904-299-8992, and just text the word connect. That'll let me know that you came from Mark, and I'll be able to just send you a free invite to the community and some other resources that I want to give to you. I have 6 free courses, and if one is interesting, you can just take it. I don't charge for it. I don't even need your email address or anything, but that's just because I'm a friend of Mark's and I want to honor his audience today.
Rock on. Alex, give me that number one more time.
Yeah, it's 1-904-299-8992, and text the word connect.
Got it. Cool. Awesome, man. Any other places people can track you down? Or that's
it. I'll have everything there. You can find me on social and things like that. But if you go to creatingabrand.com or shoot me a text, either way, you're going to find everything I'm involved in.
Cool. I'm going to make sure that ends up in the show notes. So folks, take a look at the show notes. If you weren't able to write that down and your reverse button isn't working on your podcast app, take a look at the show notes and you can click that there. All right, Alex, we got to make sure everybody looks you up and make sure they are paying attention to what you guys do. I'm going to do a quick little info on ePresence if you're okay with that.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
So first of all, folks, if you need help on social media and you're struggling how to manage it and you get all these social media outlets, you don't really know what to do, give us a buzz at ePresence. That's what we do. We manage personal, company, and collegiate social media. So first, we clean up the CEO's social media and their entire executive suite. So imagine the entire executive suite in your organization. We can get all those people to carry the brand and make sure they're supporting the mission of the company. Second, we can clean up the entire company's social media. So imagine this, go downstream to all your business development folks. They need to be active on social media. Let's get them cleaned up. We can also manage from soup to nuts your social media for the whole company. So what is the customer facing portion of your social media for your company? We can drive that for you. And then finally, another thing worth highlighting is we manage or help college students get ready to find that perfect job through a better presence on social media. So we're going to clean up their resume. We actually do face-to-face interviews if they're in Atlanta, or we'll do it through Zoom if they're not. So if you're interested in any of our offerings, contact us at ePresence.me. That's ePresence.me because it's all about you. Well, this show is a wrap. Alex, I hope you enjoyed your time with us. Was it worth it?
Oh, it was awesome. Can't wait to come back. Can't wait to come back.
Awesome, brother. Well, I'm glad that you're here. So until next time, for my guest, Alex Sanfilippo, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?